Hello everyone and welcome back to our live coverage of Axiom 4 Crew Dragon Grace undocking from the International Space Station before they begin their return journey back to Earth. Hi, if this is your first time here, myself Dipto Maitra, your friend and host for today's live coverage, and you are watching AstroYonder live.
Roger, 0G, and I feel fine. Capsule is turning around.
Houston, we see a nominal MECO. Welcome to space.
Hope you all are doing fine and excited for the Axiom 4 mission's return, which marks the fourth commercial flight for Axiom Space and 18th crewed flight for SpaceX. Pretty sure we all are excited for the Axiom 4 mission splashdown off the coast of California. Then this one, the undocking one. The re-entry and the splashdown is scheduled for July 15 at 5:30 a.m. Eastern Daytime, 9:30 hours UTC. Today we are excited, but with a bit of heavy heart, you can say, bringing you the coverage of Axiom 4 mission undocking live from space station. Axiom 4 crew is of 4 astronauts, Peggy Whitson being the commander, Indian astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla serving as the role of pilot representing ISRO, and Sławosz Uznański-Wiśniewski from Poland representing European Space Agency and Polsa, along with Tibor Kapu from Hungary representing HUNOR as mission specialist. The SpaceX Crew Dragon Grace will not only bring the Axiom 4 crew members back to Earth, it will also return with more than 580 pounds of cargo, including NASA hardware and data from all of these 60 experiments conducted during the Axiom 4 mission. Now, just to update you guys, at 5:07 a.m. Eastern Daytime, 9:07 hours UTC, the hatch closed between the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft and the orbital laboratory in preparation for the undocking and return to Earth of Axiom 4 mission. We are currently standing by for Axiom 4 crew to get undocked from the International Space Station. The SpaceX Dragon spacecraft to date has launched 18 crew members aboard the Dragon spacecraft and 70 crew members to orbital outpost, including the ongoing Axiom 4 mission. This mission is for Axiom Space, as we all know, a commercial organization launching their fourth human spaceflight with the help of NASA and SpaceX. Now let's just wind up from the back. Axiom 4 mission lifted off last month on June 25th, 2025 from the East Coast from NASA's Kennedy Space Center from the Pad Launch Complex 39A in Florida. After stage separation, Falcon 9's first stage successfully touched down at landing zone 1 over at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. The launch came after being delayed 7 times, first due to a booster issue, then an ISS leak, and finally some tough weather conditions. But the views we got during the liftoff, it's absolutely worth the wait. Right now, you can see on your screen is the view of the stage separation of the first stage booster from the second stage and the first stage boost back burn, which got some absolutely stunning views during Falcon 9 ascent. What you are seeing on your screen now is the exact moment that the Falcon 9 boost back burn mixing with the second stage plume as Dragon Grace and Axiom 4 crew made their way to the International Space Station. Also, we refer it to as Falcon 9 Nebula sometimes. Now, following its launch on June 25th and a journey lasting about 28 hours and a half, Crew Dragon Grace carrying the Axiom 4 crew successfully docked with the International Space Station at 6:31 a.m. Eastern Daytime, 10:31 UTC hours UTC. Following by the hatch opening at 8:14 a.m. Eastern Daytime, 12:14 hours UTC, and you can see right now on your screen Peggy Whitson followed by Shubhanshu Shukla getting aboard the International Space Station. Next up, I guess it's Sławosz. Yes, and following Sławosz, I see Tibor Kapu from Hungary, all getting aboard the International Space Station and having some happy moments, greeting each other. The crew members of the Expedition 73 aboard the International Space Station, currently being commanded by Tokyo Onishi from JAXA. He is now the commander of the International Space Station. Now, before we ignite our Draco thrusters on this live stream details, firstly, on behalf of AstroYonder team and our awesome moderators, we express our heartfelt gratitude to everyone for joining us on this mission ride. We are truly grateful by your presence and support that inspires us to work more hard and to meet your expectations. A big thanks to our amazing YouTube community for the encouragement that keeps our mission flying as we provide deep dive launch coverages and other live coverages loaded with extensive stats and thorough insights. Truly grateful to have you on board as we count down to the undocking of the Axiom 4 mission together. Would really appreciate if you guys could join the chat and let us know from where you are tuning from. Please feel free to share your any questions, suggestions, or opinion with us. That will make us to improve our streams more and to more about your perspective and also to know you more. So please don't be shy, just bring them on. Would really love it to hear from you guys. Now, every stream, like I say, just a reminder, it's me only managing these live coverages on my own. So if we face any technical issues, well, although the chances are very less, but please bear with me and tune in. There is nothing to worry about. You won't be missing anything, and I will do my best to guide you through the stream. Now, before getting into the mission details, just a quick reminder. At 5:07 a.m. Eastern Daytime, 9:07 hours UTC, the Crew Dragon hatch got closed. Undocking of the Crew Dragon Grace is current with Axiom 4 crew on board is currently scheduled for July 14, approximately 7:05 a.m. Eastern Daytime, 11:05 hours UTC, that is today. And the re-entry and the splashdown of the Crew Dragon is currently scheduled on July 15 at 2:30 a.m. Pacific Daytime, 5:30 a.m. Eastern Daytime, 9:30 hours UTC of the coast of California tomorrow. Now, if this stream fuels your love for space, please give this stream a like. It's kind of way of fine-tuning the trajectory of our mission to build a community with amazing space enthusiasts like you. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification so that you won't miss any single live coverage update. Here at AstroYonder, we believe together we will build the ultimate constellation of space enthusiasts. Would be super grateful and happy to have you with us. Now, as we just went through the recap of the mission, starting from the launch to the crew getting on board, let's have some quick onboard stay picture for the Axiom crew mission during their stay of approximately 18 days aboard the International Space Station, where they tackled over 60 experiments, which pushes the boundaries of space research with projects that could shape future mission and life on Earth. Indian astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla, the first astronaut to visit the International Space Station, worked on experiments like plant microbe interaction in microgravity, studying how plant sprouts in space to support sustainable food and oxygen production for deep space missions. Another major highlight of all of this experiment was the microalgae life support study, exploring how microalgae could produce a biofuels, recycle carbon dioxide, and even serve as food source. The crew also got into health-focused research, including the Cancer in Microgravity project, which examined how cancer cells behave in space to unlock new treatment insights. Also worth mentioning, the Astro mental health experiment stood out in all of these experiments, using tools like virtual reality to study mental health in isolated environments with potential applications for astronauts and remote communities on Earth. Beyond the lab, they connected with students and leaders worldwide. Indian astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla spoke with India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Tibor Kapu with Hungary's Prime Minister, and the whole Axiom 4 team engaged in STEAM events to inspire young minds. Working alongside the International Space Station Expedition 73 crew, they balanced intense research with moments of fun, like enjoying shrimp cocktails in zero gravity. Although I couldn't manage to have that image on our stream, so my sincere apologies for that. The milestone achieved by Axiom 4 missions are: Shubhanshu Shukla became India's second national astronaut to go to space since 1984. Sławosz Uznański, European Space Agency project astronaut, the second Polish astronaut since 1978. Tibor Kapu got to be the second national Hungarian astronaut since 1980. And of course, the commander, Peggy Whitson, commanding her second commercial human spaceflight mission, adding 18 days to her standing record for the longest cumulative time in space by an American astronaut. So now, although the crew does not need any introduction, but still let me just give you a little more deeper insights which these streams are not providing. So let's head over and meet the crew. Commanding Axiom 4 mission is none other than a spaceflight legend, Peggy Whitson. She is a biochemist with a Bachelor in Science with streams of biology and chemistry, and holding a PhD degree from Rice University. And I hope you guys remember that from Rice University, um, previously, John F. Kennedy gave that historic speech for getting to the moon. Now, coming back to Peggy Whitson, and she is having currently 693 days in space under her belt. She holds the US record for most time spent in orbit by any American or any woman and ranks 8th globally. Peggy Whitson's NASA journey begins back in 1986, and by the year 1996, she was officially became an astronaut. 2002 was her first flight on Expedition 5, where she went on to break barriers, being the first woman to command the International Space Station. And also, she commanded the International Space Station twice. During her 2017 mission on Expedition 51, she set what was the then record for longest single space flight by any woman, that was 289 days. But that record was soon being surpassed by the upcoming Artemis 2 astronaut, Christina Koch. But Whitson's achievement stands tall. On top of that, she holds the record for the most spacewalk by a woman, that is 10 extravehicular activities totaling over 60 hours, and she is also the oldest woman to do those spacewalks. Her resume is so big and really we can cover, but here are some of the highlights. She served as NASA's chief astronaut, chaired the astronaut selection board, and was the first ISS science officer. Back in 2018, the year when she got retired from NASA, the Time magazine named her one of the 100 most influential people in the world. After retiring from NASA in 2018, she joined Axiom Space as their director of human spaceflight. Back in 2023, she became the first woman to command a private space mission with Axiom 2 mission to the International Space Station. And here we are today, where she is back in charge again for Axiom 4, overseeing the entire mission, keeping the crew safe and leading their packed 2 weeks plus days of research and experiments staying aboard the International Space Station. Off duty, Whitson is all about staying active and being energetic. She is into biking, weightlifting, basketball, and water skiing. Next up, we have India's very own trailblazer, Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, serving the role of Axiom 4 mission pilot. Born on October 10, 1985 in Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh, this 39-year-old Indian Air Force officer made history as the first Indian to step aboard the International Space Station from his country. It's been 41 years since an Indian last went to space, all the way back to Rakesh Sharma's legendary mission back in 1984. That's really a long gap. Finally, that came to a close. Shukla's journey to space started at India's National Defense Academy, where he graduated in 2005. getting a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. Just a year later, he got commissioned into the Indian Air Force as a flight pilot. Back in 2024, he got the rank of a group captain with more than 2,000 flight hours logged on jets like Sukhoi 30, MiG-21, MiG-29, Jaguar, and even some tactical transport aircraft like Antonov 32 and Dornier. Not to forget, he is also being through cosmonaut training at Russia's Yuri Gagarin Center under ISRO's Gaganyaan program. That's India's very own human spaceflight mission that is aiming to launch maybe in 2016. As of now, it is planned so. As a pilot for Axiom 4 mission, Shukla's hands are on the controls for all the critical stuff like starting from the launch to getting docked and now to undocking from the International Space Station. He is fluent in English and Hindi, and this mission is widely seen as a key stepping stone towards India's Gaganyaan mission. In fact, he is one of the just 4 astronauts shortlisted by ISRO, that is Indian Space Research Organization, for the Gaganyaan program. His selection for Axiom 4 mission follows a big 2024 agreement between ISRO and Axiom Space, signed during Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's US visit with United States President Donald Trump. And really, it's a smart move that gives a hands-on spaceflight experience just before launching a country's own astronaut to space. Now, beyond his serving as a role being pilot, Shukla also carried out scientific experiments in space for ISRO and Indian academic universities. Everything from how microbe behaves in microgravity to muscle loss, crop durability, and even how screen time affects cognition up there. Next up, we have representing Poland on Axiom 4 mission is Sławosz Uznański-Wiśniewski, also known as Sław in short, as his name is hard to pronounce. It also took me 7 days to rehearse his name. He made history for his country. He is being the first Polish astronaut in space since 1978, breaking a nearly 47 years of gap. He got picked out of over 22,500 applicants in European Space Agency's 2022 astronaut reserve selection, and his credentials really shows that he is nothing short of being elite. He earned his master's with honors and an engineering diploma. Then he completed a PhD back in 2011, focusing on building radiation tolerant system for space use. His career took off at ST Microelectronics in France, and later he played a big role at CERN, serving as a reliability expert and engineer in charge of the Large Hadron Collider, also known as LHC in short, between 2018 and 2020. Next up, on 2023, he officially joined European Space Agency as a project astronaut and brought all that experience straight to this mission. But beyond science, he is a guy of having adventurous soul. He's into high altitude climbing, exploring remote corners of the world, and sailing wherever he can. He also speaks Polish, English, and French, which makes it easier for him to sync up with the international crew members. During his time aboard the International Space Station, he led 13 science experiments under Poland's Ignis mission, a joint effort by Poland, European Space Agency, and Axiom Space. This experiment covered a wide range from AI technology in microgravity and psych research to muscle-free comms, radiation, radiation effects on electronics, microgrown navigation system, and even homegrown noise sensor developed back in Poland. All of it's geared towards boosting Poland's footprint in space science and pushing the design of future space tech forward. Rounding out the Ax-4 crew is 33-year-old Tibor Kapu, a mission specialist from Hungary, marking the country's long overdue run to human spaceflight. He got picked back in May 2024 through Hungarian astronaut program HUNOR, and his flight is part of Hungary's growing interest in space exploration. Kapu comes from an engineering background. His father was also an engineer, to be precise, a mechanical engineer. Tibor earned both his bachelor's and master's degree in mechanical engineering at Budapest University of Technology and Economics, where he focused on polymer technology. Over the years, he worked across a bunch of industries, including automotive, pharmaceuticals, logistics, and others. He's being involved in hybrid car battery projects and had work stints back in Belgium and United States since 2022. Getting into HUNOR for Tibor wasn't easy. He was selected from a pool of 247 applicants after a tough, rigorous 2 years process and training. Now, his role in orbit is all about boosting Hungary's scientific presence in space and inspiring the next wave of researchers. He's been training in Houston since August 2024, working alongside NASA, SpaceX, and Axiom teams to get ready for this Axiom 4 mission and the life aboard the International Space Station. Outside of science, Tibor is also having an adventurous side. He performed 38 skydives, finished 21 half marathons, and even got 2 times silver medals in the strategy, that is a logical game named Tantrix, at World Junior Championship. His journey from Hungary to International Space Station is more than just personal. It's really showcases Hungary's growing push for its own space research path, which is independent of European Space Agency. During the Axiom 4 mission, Tibor took the lead on nearly 30 Hungarian designed experiments covering everything from biology and material science to Earth observation. These were all conducted under HUNOR with support from Axiom Space and Hungarian Space Office. One of the 30 experiments focused on how cosmic radiation affects on human body, something that could shape how we prepare for future Moon or Mars mission. Apart from all the science performed by each of the crew members separately for their own country and organizations, all of the four crew members took part in STEAM outreach and other experiments to perform for Axiom Space and its partners. On your screen, you can see the name of those experiments for Axiom 4 mission to be performed all together by the four crew members. These experiments are not for just the individual crew members and for the individual countries. And not to forget, we have the fifth crew member also for the Axiom 4 mission. At the Ax-4 pre-launch press conference, the crew showed off their zero gravity indicator, a plush baby swan named Joy from Aurora's adorable Palm Pal lines. It's more than just a cuddly toy, though. Joy will float up and marks that awesome moment when the crew officially hits the microgravity after liftoff. We saw that during the liftoff that Sławosz was playing with the Joy, and really Sławosz is having so much of energy and fun during the liftoff. The name Joy for the zero G indicator for the Axiom formation was suggested by Tibor Kapu, who put it into his statement that a team that has joy and is healthy. For that, he chose that name, and it really captured the spirit of the mission: unity, collaboration, and good vibes all around. The crew made it clear that Joy is not just a fun mascot, it's a symbol of the heart and teamwork behind Axiom formation. The swan represents the collective goal of ISRO, European Space Agency, and Hungary's HUNOR program, all teaming up again to send people to space. They also talked about how the swan carries cultural meaning. In India, it's tied with goddess Saraswati and represents wisdom and purity. In Poland, it stands for loyalty and resilience, and in Hungary, it reflects grace and natural beauty. So, with joy, the Axiom 4 team is not only brought a piece of home with them, they are also celebrating their shared joy and journey as human exploring space together. So that's all about the crew members and the science performed by the AX4 crew aboard the International Space Station. Just to remind you, today we have a 3 minutes of gap between the webcast from the SpaceX and uh, um, NASA. So I will see which one starts the first, and maybe once again, please excuse me. Maybe we need to switch between the streams, so please don't um, get around away. Please hang with us. It will just take a couple of seconds for me to switch the stream between them. We are approximately 5 minutes away from the SpaceX stream to start and 8 minutes away from the NASA stream to start. So let's just quickly go through the crew departure, starting from the undocking to the splashdown. The process initiates with the Crew Dragon autonomously undocking from the International Space Station. The undocking will take place to get away from the International Space Station's docking adapter, also known as IDA, or the Common Berthing Mechanism, CBM in short, depending on the mission configuration. This undocking is executed via spacecraft guidance, navigation, and control, which is also known as GNC in short system, which disengages the docking latches and initiates a controlled separation. Following undocking, the Dragon performs a series of departure burns using its Draco thrusters. These burns typically lasting between 0.5 to 2 seconds each, providing a delta V of approximately 0.5 to 1 meter per second to move the spacecraft out of the International Space Station's keep out sphere, which is a 200-meter safety radius. This maneuver ensures a safe trajectory away from the orbiting laboratory, allowing the spacecraft for subsequent orbital adjustment. Now, those who are a little into the technical nitty things, just a fun fact, the Crew Dragon's Draco thrusters generates 400 newtons of thrust, or you can say 90 pounds of force, using a storable propellant mixture of monomethyl hydrazine fuel and nitrogen tetroxide oxidizer. Next up is the phasing burn. The Crew Dragon then executes a sequence of phasing burns to adjust its orbit. These burns, also powered by the Draco thrusters, which I just mentioned few couple of seconds ago, which involves precise orbital maneuvers to lower the spacecraft's altitude and shift its orbital plane. The GNC system calculates the burn duration and thrust vectors based on real-time telemetry, targeting a ground track that aligns with the designated landing site. Now comes the big move. The Dragon conducts the deorbit burn, which lasts approximately 24 minutes. This powerful push changes its orbit, dropping it out of space and aiming it back towards Earth. And this deorbit burn will be happening tomorrow, just prior to the splashdown. Also, once again, these deorbit burns are performed using the Dragon's Draco thrusters in a retrograde configuration, lasting, as I mentioned, approximately 24 minutes. Next major milestone during the return will be the trunk jettison, Dragon trunk jettison. Post deorbit burn, the Crew Dragon jettisons its unpressurized trunk section, a structural component housing solar array, radiators, and unpressurized cargo. Following that, the Dragon spacecraft will undergo the re-entry, and here is where things get super hot, approximately reaching the peak heating of 3000 degrees Fahrenheit due to the atmospheric compression and ionization, which is managed by the Dragon's PK-X, that is phenolic impregnated carbon ablator heat shields. And during this re-entry burn, the Dragon spacecraft travels at a subsonic speed approximately of Mach 0.8, and with G forces peaking at up to 3 to 4 Gs for the crew. So it's really intensive process. And also during this re-entry burn, we have an expected loss of signal during the plasma formation around the Crew Dragon spacecraft. And post the re-entry burn, the Dragon's 2 drogue parachutes deploy approximately 5.5 kilometers up in the air, followed by 4 main parachutes at a lower altitude. This happens automatically, ensuring a gentle float down to the splashdown point. And finally, the grand finale. Under those four main parachutes, the Dragons splash down at a velocity of approximately 24 kilometers per hour, releasing them autonomously and a safe landing in Pacific Ocean. And with that, mission is accomplished. So that's all about the details for the Crew Dragon departure from starting from the undocking to the splashdown. Right now, I'm seeing SpaceX started their webcast, but they're just playing some pre-launch tunes. So there is no point for us to have that stream on our webcast. We will be sticking with the NASA stream that will be happening in just 1 minute from now. Once again, would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to everyone joining us for today's live coverage for the Axiom 4 mission undocking from the International Space Station. Would really appreciate if you guys can join the chat and let us know from where you are tuning from. That will help us to know more about you and would really feel glad to hear from you guys. Once again, it's just a request. Adding value to your viewing experience is our top priority here at AstroYonder. If you felt we somewhat achieved that, please consider liking this stream. It really helps others to find this stream. Also consider subscribing to our channel as we work hard to bring you streams packed with stats, details, and insights. And for that, we would be incredibly grateful for your kind support. Now, I guess it's time for the webcast to begin. So let's just quickly move on and check out whether the NASA webcast has started or not. Let me just quickly set up the stream for you guys. So the stream is rolling. There is no issues. Absolutely on time. And I'm just getting done to set up the stream for you guys. Currently here also there are some pre-launch tunes going on. So you are not missing out anything. And there we go. We have the stream online. I know this is bothering to say you guys, but please consider liking this stream. I'm not asking anything more than that. That will help this stream to reach out to more people. And for that, we would be incredibly grateful for your kind support. So there we go. We have the live view of the Dragon Grace being docked at the International Space Station. It's an orbital daytime, so we can view this awesome glimpse of the Dragon spacecraft. Once again, just to remind you, during this undocking process, maybe we will be not getting some views of the Axiom 4 Crew Dragon Grace due to the orbital nighttime periods. Maybe it will be happening, but if that will be the case, don't get disheartened.
Here at SpaceX in Hawthorne, California.
And I'm John Rackham with Portable Life Support Systems for Axiom Space based in Houston, Texas. Now, this has been a very successful mission on station, with each crew member navigating a very full slate of activities over the last 18 days, including over 60 scientific studies and more than 20 outreach events.
Today's live coverage marks the end of our joint efforts with NASA on board the International Space Station and the beginning of our crew's return home. This webcast will follow the crew's departure from the space station and conclude once they have exited the approach ellipsoid, which is an imaginary outer boundary of the orbiting laboratory. Then on Tuesday, Axiom Space and SpaceX will pick up with live coverage of the next phase of the Ax-4 crew's return home, starting about an hour before splashdown. Splashdown is currently targeting July 15th at 2:30 a.m. Pacific time or 5:30 a.m. Eastern. So be sure to tune in tomorrow as we share the conclusion of this mission.
And for those of you following along, the Ax-4 crew consists of Commander Peggy Whitson, pilot Shubhanshu Shukla of India, and mission specialists Sławosz Uznański-Wiśniewski of Poland and Tibor Kapu of Hungary. This Earthbound crew originally lifted off from Launch Pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center on Wednesday, June 25th, and arrived at the International Space Station.
Well, just to interrupt you guys, I won't be bothering you in between the stream. So you guys enjoy the stream. I will be joining you back in a while, and where I will be describing in technical way that how the crew departure from the International Space Station takes place, starting from the undocking, like hatch closing procedures to the undocking procedures. So before leaving, once again, just a request for the stream to reach to more people. Please consider liking this stream. Now sit back and enjoy the stream. I'll be joining you guys in a while where we'll be discussing the technical stuffs. So I will take permission from you guys for a while.
Now, ahead of departure, our teams look at a number of weather items. Some of the obvious ones are no rain or chance of lightning in the recovery zone, both for the safety of the crew inside the spacecraft and the recovery teams on the water. Now, we're also looking for wind speeds less than 10 miles per hour and relatively calm seas so that we can safely perform recovery operations, which includes landing a helicopter on the recovery ship to fly the crew back to shore. Now, once Dragon departs station, the crew's flight home is expected to last approximately 22.5 hours. Dragon will also execute a phasing burn to lower its orbit and line the spacecraft up with its landing locations. These 4 departure burns will gradually increase the distance between the spacecraft and the space station. Dragon will also execute a phasing burn to lower its orbit and line the spacecraft up with its targeted landing location. Then the action starts to pick up pace with trunk separation, closure of the nose cone, a deorbit burn, re-entry, deployment of the drogue and main parachutes, and then finally splashdown off the coast of California. The crew will then get picked up at sea by one of SpaceX's recovery vessels.
And at that point, the Axiom 4 crew will undergo their first medical checks while aboard the recovery vessel before flying on that helicopter back to land. And from there, the crew will be flown to Houston, Texas, where they'll be reunited with their teams. And this welcome home moment, in many ways, will mark the conclusion of the operational phases of this mission.
And guiding us through the action today as Dragon departs station is Anna Schneider with NASA Communications at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. How's it going, Anna?
Hey, Jesse and John, it's good to be with both of you, and welcome to Mission Control Houston at NASA's Johnson Space Center. We're currently live in the International Space Station Flight Control Room, where the Orbit 1 team of flight controllers are being led by NASA Flight Director Allison Bollinger. Earlier this morning, we brought you live coverage of hatch closure, during which the Axiom Mission 4 crew suited up, re-entered Dragon, and closed the hatch between the International Space Station and the Dragon spacecraft. That hatch closure took place at 4:07 a.m. Central, 5:07 a.m. Eastern. Since that time, the process to depressurize the area between the Dragon hatch and the APAS hatch on station known as the vestibule took place and was recently completed. And now we're waiting undocking in just a little bit, and we will be looking ahead to the go, no-go poll for undocking here in just a few minutes, around 5:50 a.m. Central, 6:50 a.m. Eastern. This final go, no-go poll is where the joint SpaceX and NASA teams make their final call for Dragon to depart the space station. This is one of many checkpoints in that return that will continue all the way up until just before the deorbit burn, giving mission managers multiple chances to assess the weather at the splashdown zones and make sure everything is looking good before Dragon departs. The Axiom Mission 4 crew members, Peggy Whitson, Shubhanshu Shukla, Sławosz Uznański-Wiśniewski, and Tibor Kapu are now suited up and standing by for undocking to begin their journey back home to Earth. So again, we'll continue to stand by for that final go, no-go poll in just a couple of minutes. minutes, but for now, everything continuing to look good for today's undocking and departure of Axiom Mission 4. Separation today is set for approximately 6:05 a.m. Central, 7:05 a.m. Eastern, in just about 13 minutes from now. At the moment, Dragon is in its final configuration before undocking, and again, we are waiting for flight controllers here in Mission Control Houston, along with the SpaceX flight control team in Hawthorne, California, to conduct their final go-no-go poll on whether to move forward with the undocking procedure. Now, just like during its approach to the International Space Station, Dragon's departure in D-orbit is designed to be fully autonomous, requiring no action from the crew on board. The undock command will be sent at 6 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Eastern to begin that autonomous sequence. The first step in the automatic undocking sequence is for the umbilicals to retract. These umbilicals connect Dragon systems to the space station, transferring power, telemetry, and commands between the two vehicles throughout Dragon's stay. Once that's complete, Dragon will unlatch itself from the space station by releasing the 12 hard capture hooks in 2 separate phases. All of that combined will take roughly 4.5 minutes, and then Dragon will be ready to depart from the space station and begin to push itself further and further away using its thrusters.
Hi, my name is myself Dipto Mitra from AstroYonder team, joining you back again. So while we are waiting for the go/no-go poll from the flight control at Houston,
the undock sequence start by 10 minutes to 11:10 Zulu to perform a final state machine review.
Dragon copies, 11:10 Zulu for undock departure time.
And we just heard some comms between the SpaceX core, or the crew operations resource engineer on the ground at SpaceX Mission Control in Hawthorne, California, and Axiom Mission 4 Commander Peggy Whitson, currently on board the Dragon Grace spacecraft. They did confirm that undock today is going to be delayed by about 10 minutes. Planning for the undock command to now be sent at 6:10 a.m. Central, 7:10 a.m. Eastern, which would put a physical separation from station at 6:15 a.m. Central, 7:15 a.m. Eastern, and this is to allow some final configuration and also to improve the communications between the ground due to some loss of signals that are planned from the original undock time. And the undock window for today does run for about an hour, so the latest that the undock command can be sent is 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Eastern, so there's still plenty of margin to continue through the undocking procedure today.
so we just heard that the undocking of the Crew Dragon from the International Space Station is delayed by just 10 minutes due to some expected loss of signals, and the ground systems, the ground control systems sending the undocking command back to the Crew Dragon. So for that, it's now being delayed for 10 minutes. So meanwhile, let me just tell you about the undocking procedure of the Crew Dragon from the International Space Station. With the hatches sealed, it's time for the Dragon to part ways with the International Space Station. The undocking procedure is a delicate operation as the capsule must safely disengage from station's International Docking Adapter, also known as IDA in short, without disturbing International Space Station's orbit or systems. This is where the NASA docking system, also known as NDS in short, and Dragon's autonomous capabilities shine. Now, before undocking, SpaceX Mission Control, which you are seeing right now on your screen, and the ISS crew verify Dragon's system. The capsule's flight computers running triple redundant software, checking the status of its Draco thrusters, 18 of them. Those are 18 hypergolic engines using monomethyl hydrazine and nitrogen tetroxide being their propellant. Also, they will be verifying the inertial measurement units, also known as IMU in short, and navigation sensors, that is LIDAR in short. Those are thermal imagers and star tracker. The capsule's attitude control system ensures it's oriented correctly with its nose cone aligned along the International Space Station's velocity vector. Next up, the power systems are confirmed to be nominal, with solar arrays providing 2 to 3 kilowatt and batteries fully charged up for the return back to Earth. The ISS crew uses the station's control panel to send commands to the IDA, that is the International Docking Adapter, ensuring the docking mechanism latches are ready to release. And those latches, as you know, they are in a set of 6, consisting of 12 physical latches. Now, before undocking, they have to safely getting disengaged from the International Space Station docking adapter. Now, meanwhile, the ground team monitors the telemetry via SpaceX's Starlink constellation, which provides low latency, high bandwidth communication up to 10 Mbps for real-time control. Next up is the undocking begins with the latches, with the release of the hard captured latches. The NDS's 12 motorized latches, which holds Dragon to the International Docking Adapter, are disengaged in a sequenced manner to avoid sudden jolts. This takes about 5 to 10 seconds, transitioning the connection to soft capture. Like initially during docking, those who saw the docking webcast, they know that the first step is the soft capture, then it comes the hard capture. And here in the undocking procedure is just the reverse of that, where it will be the hard capture being first to disengage to coming to a state of soft capture. So that's why I mentioned that transitioning the connection to soft capture, where spring-loaded latches provide minimal resistance. The soft capture is then released, allowing Dragon to float free to initiate separation. The Dragon's Draco thrusters fire in short bursts, typically 0.1 to 0.5 seconds, imparting a delta V of about 0.1 meters per second, which is equivalent to 0.3 feet per second, to gently push Dragon away from the International Space Station. That's really a slow pace, but it has to be maintained so that it won't harm anything to both the International Space Station and the departing Crew Dragon. Once Dragon is about 2 meters, that is 6.6 feet from 6.6 feet away from the International Space Station, it enters the departure phase, and the capsule's flight computers execute a series of departure burn using the Draco thrusters, gradually increasing its distance from the International Space Station. The goal is to exit the approach ellipsoid, a virtual boundary about 200 meters, which is equivalent to 656 feet around the station within 10 to 15 minutes. The thrusters fire and the thrusters fired with millinewton precision to maintain a controlled trajectory, avoiding the International Space Station's keep out sphere, which is a 200 meter safety zone, as I mentioned before. Dragon then follows a programmed departure corridor using its relative navigation system to track its position relative to International Space Station. The LiDAR, LIDAR, light imaging
Commander Peggy Whitson, and also a former NASA astronaut, following.
Okay, they are not saying anything. I was thinking that they will be saying something on the comms. So the LiDAR and the visual sensors provide sub-centimeter accuracy, ensuring the capsule avoids any risk of collision. But about 400 meters, which is equivalent to 1,312 feet, Dragon is considered safely separated, and it performs a final burn to enter a distinct orbit, which is not in the same orbit of the International Space Station, typically lowering its perigee to prepare for re-entry. The entire undocking process takes about 20 to 30 minutes. Currently, we got the update that today's undocking is being delayed by 10 minutes only due to the expected loss of signal between the ground systems and to the Dragon. And right now on your screen, you can see both the control systems for SpaceX and Axiom Space. On the left-hand side is they switch the camera view. On the left-hand side is the SpaceX flight control system, ground team, and previously it was on the right-hand side, the Axiom Space flight control. And right now on the right-hand side, they switch it back to Houston flight control. So this entire undocking process takes about 20 to 30 minutes, as I mentioned, with SpaceX and NASA team, as well as SpaceX teams monitoring every steps to ensure ISS remains stable and Dragon is on the right trajectory. Once again, just to remind you, at 5:07 a.m. Eastern Daytime, 9:07 hours UTC, the Crew Dragon hatch got closed.
On the right-hand side of your screen.
Undocking of the Crew Dragon Grace with Axiom 4 crew on board is currently scheduled for July 14, that is today, approximately 7:15 a.m. Eastern Daytime, 11:15 hours UTC, which is 10 minutes delayed from the initially planned undocking time of 7:05 a.m. Eastern Daytime, 11:05 hours UTC. The re-entry and the splashdown of the Crew Dragon is scheduled on July 15 at 2:30 a.m. Pacific Daytime, 5:30 a.m. Eastern Daytime, corresponds to 9:30 hours UTC of the coast of California. Now, that's all about the undocking procedure and the updates we have to share with you guys. Once again, just a reminder, those of you joining us right now, please consider liking this stream. That helps this stream to get more other people. Also would like to welcome Norman Simon for joining us.
And just like during its approach to the International Space Station.
Well, I'm sorry, Norman, that my accent is a little difficult to understand. I understand that because I'm not having an Western accent. But I just wanted to share some insights and valuable technical sides of these undocking things. I'll be not anymore disturbing you guys. You guys enjoy the stream, but what to do meanwhile, I have to come back to share the updates with you guys. But once again, thanks Norman for joining us, and I'm really sorry for my accent, but I hope you will be enjoying the stream. So I was just requesting you guys that those of who joining us to consider liking this stream to spread this stream out to more people. So with that, I will be taking a break from you guys while you guys enjoy the stream.
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop. Ground is go for undocking. The undock sequence start time is 11:10 Zulu.
So there we go. We got the final go for the undock sequence command to be sent to the Crew Dragon. So that's a recent update I have to share with you guys. Now let's sit back and enjoy the stream. I'll be joining you in a while. So enjoy the stream and well, thanks Norman for understanding me. But okay, fine. Anyways, I'm not such a great human being, but thanks for your kind words. Now, I won't be bothering you guys anymore. Enjoy the stream. I will join you guys in a while.
Again, that undock command is scheduled to be sent in just about 2 minutes from now at 6:10 a.m. Central, 7:10 a.m. Eastern. And once that command is sent, it'll take about 5 minutes for Dragon to separate from the International Space Station, with physical separation planned for 6:15 a.m. Central, 7:15 a.m. Eastern. Dragon's initial departure from station is a little different from other docked vehicles like the Soyuz that rely on springs to push them away from the docking port. Dragon will actually execute 2 short thruster firings called undock burns to physically separate using a combination of the 12 Draco engines around the base of the spacecraft, with the first breaking any stiction between Dragon and the docking port, and the second slowly backing the spacecraft away from the station's Harmony module. Following physical separation, we will have Depart Burn 0, which is the first of 4 departure burns to begin moving Dragon further away from station. Depart Burn 0 will be followed by the second departure burn about 5 minutes later and help move the spacecraft beyond the Keep-Out Sphere. The Keep-Out Sphere is an invisible 200-meter line centered on the space station, and it is one of several safety zones set up to govern spacecraft arriving and departing the space station. Before moving into the Keep-Out Sphere, spacecraft have to be configured where they would not cross the imaginary boundary for at least 4 orbits, even if the spacecraft lost all maneuvering. About 13 minutes after exiting the Keep-Out Sphere, the Dragon will then exit the approach ellipsoid, which is another imaginary shape, this time a 3-dimensional ellipsoid measuring 4 kilometers by 2 kilometers by 2 kilometers in the same family as the Keep-Out Sphere. One of the key differences with the approach ellipsoid is that vehicles outside of it have to be on what we call a 24-hour safe free drift trajectory, which means the spacecraft would not cross into the approach ellipsoid for at least 24 hours, again, even if it lost all maneuvering. Again, we are now standing by for that undocking sequence to begin in just a few moments at 6:10 a.m. Central, 7:10 a.m. Eastern.
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop. Undock sequence commanded.
And we just got confirmation that that undock sequence has been sent, and the umbilicals are now retracting. With that undock command sent, that undocking sequence has now commenced, and that is a roughly 4.5-minute process before we have that physical separation planned for 6:15 a.m. Central, 7:15 a.m. Eastern.
Umbilical demate complete and nominal.
We have confirmation that those umbilicals have demated or detached from the space station, and the first set of hooks is now traveling. Again, there are 2 sets of 6 hooks for a total of 12 hard capture hooks that have to unlatch and drive open. After all 12 of those hooks are open, we will then have those very short thruster firings known as undock burns to physically separate from station. We're now just over 1 minute into that undock sequence. Again, that sequence takes about 4.5 minutes total, so about 3.5 minutes to go. In that sequence, the first set of hooks is currently driving open. After that first set is open, We will then stand by for the second set of 6 hooks to open. And then there will be those 2 short thruster firings to physically separate Dragon from the International Space Station. And there on your screen, you are currently seeing a live view inside the SpaceX Mission Control Room in Hawthorne, California, as well as the International Space Station Flight Control Room here in Houston, Texas, as the flight controllers on the ground continue to work in tandem to support today's undocking and departure activities of Axiom Mission 4 crew from the International Space Station. We are currently in a handover period between satellites, which is why we don't currently have live views of Dragon from Space Station.
First set of hooks, open and nominal.
And we have confirmation that that first set of 6 hooks has now fully opened, and now the second set of 6 hooks is beginning to retract. After that second set of hooks opens, we will then have those short thruster firings and have physical separation. We are now about 4 minutes into that autonomous undocking sequence that began at 6:10 a.m. Central, 7:10 a.m. Eastern. We are standing by for physical separation here in just under a minute at 6:15 a.m. Central, 7:15 a.m. Eastern, once the final set of 6 hooks has fully retracted.
All hooks now open and nominal.
And Dragon Grace has
Dragon separation confirmed.
Dragon Grace has.
Hi there, everyone. Myself, Dipto, joining you back again from AstroYonder team. Although we didn't got any live visuals of the Dragon to get separate physically from the International Space Station due to the like mistiming of the satellite handover period at that time of the undocking, but we got the confirmation that all sets of those 12 latches to be getting disengaged being nominal, and Dragon separation also occurred. Dragon separation occurred at 7:15 a.m. Eastern Daytime, 11:15 hours UTC. Now, I guess they will be showing us some live views of the Dragon, and that we will be getting upon having the satellites to get back the like in a proper configuration to give us those visuals. So currently the 4 AX crew members, Peggy Whitson, Indian astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla, Polish astronaut Sławosz Uznański-Wiśniewski, and Hungarian astronaut Tibor Kapu is on their way back to Earth, with Crew Dragon Grace being successfully separated from the International Space Station at 7:15 a.m. Eastern Daytime.
Increase the speed that Dragon is flying away from the station and send it further away from the orbiting laboratory. That departure burn will be followed
Houston Station,
about 3
ISS
minutes.
thrusters are enabled.
Houston copies.
The depart burn 0 will be followed by the second departure burn in just about 3 minutes, around 6:20 a.m. Central, 7:20 a.m. Eastern, known as depart burn 1, and that will help move the spacecraft beyond the keep-out sphere. And just a moment ago, you were hearing some communication between the Capcom or capsule communicator here in Mission Control Houston and the crew aboard the International Space Station. Currently on board the International Space Station, NASA astronaut Anne McClain was on tap to monitor and support Dragon's departure activities today. So once that second departure burn is completed in a couple of minutes from now, the Dragon and Axiom Mission 4 crew will move beyond the keep-out sphere, and the keep-out sphere is that invisible 200-meter line.
X-4 crew wants to thank you very much for your support. You guys are amazing.
I guess the C2V2 communication is also having loss of signals in between. We just heard Peggy Whitson giving some
kind words from Axiom Mission 4 Commander.
emotional goodbye speech, but it got to be stopped in between.
Forever be an example of the good that results from shared optimism. Axiom 4, Godspeed and safe journey home to the best planet in the solar system.
Space copies.
And some additional congratulatory and departure words from the International Space Station crew to the Axiom Mission 4 crew on board Dragon as it continues its departure from the International Space Station. Again, we had that physical separation take place about 4 minutes ago at 6:15 a.m. Central, 7:15 a.m. Eastern. And we are standing by for the second in a series of 4 departure burns to take place in about 1 minute from now, and this will push the Dragon spacecraft and the Axiom Mission 4 crew beyond the keep-out sphere. That keep-out sphere is the invisible 200-meter line centered on the space station, and it is one of several safety zones set up to govern spacecraft arriving and departing from the space station.
Well, just to remind you guys, this again I forgot to tell you during the pre-launch, pre-stream discussion that Shubhanshu Shukla was the 634th, Sławosz was 635th, and Tibor was 636th crew to visit the orbital outpost during their stay at the International Space Station. And these numbers were officially designated to them during the welcome ceremony, where the Axiom Space are now having a new tradition of the pinning ceremony, where the commander pins a badge on each of the crew members.
4 is now underway, and it'll last about 20 seconds.
And as the Dragon have a successful separation at 7:15 a.m. Eastern Daytime, 11:15 hours UTC. From that point of time, this coverage will be covering. Oh, there we go. We have the live visuals of the Dragon there, getting away from the International Space Station. I wish we could see the separation moment.
4012 for Dragon.
So as I was mentioning,
And we just had
just from the time from the Dragon separation, this webcast will be lasting for 30 minutes as planned. So at that time we will be also wrapping up our stream. Meanwhile, let's enjoy the Dragon views up there. Unfortunately, once again, we didn't got the live views during the separation, but it's nothing a issue.
Orbit is designed to be fully autonomous, requiring no action from the crew on board. However, unlike Dragon's arrival, there are no hold points during the departure sequence. Therefore, it takes a lot less time to leave the vicinity of the space station than to arrive. So we just had confirmation of that second departure burn being completed, and that is the second in a series of 4. However, it's the only one that was left within the vicinity of the space station. The next departure burn will take place about 45 minutes from now, after Dragon is well on its way back to Earth and outside of the approach ellipsoid.
So just to remind you back, guys, that at 5:07 Eastern Daytime, 9:07 hours UTC, the Crew Dragon hatch got closed. Undocking of the Crew Dragon Grace from the Axiom 4 crew with the Axiom Crew 4 mission on board was at 7:15 a.m. Eastern Daytime, 11:05 hours UTC. And the planned re-entry and the splashdown of the Crew Dragon is currently scheduled on July 15, that is tomorrow, at 2:30 a.m. Pacific Daytime, 5:30 a.m. Eastern Daytime, 9:30 hours UTC off the coast of California. Currently, we had a deorbit burn, that is the second one of the planned 4 burns for the Crew Dragon getting away from the International Space Station. Next up, the third burn will be happening around 40 minutes from now.
Dragon copies.
Station copies.
Station looks beautiful.
Axiom mission astronauts made the most of their 2+ weeks in orbit, working alongside the International Space Station Expedition 73 crew. At the arrival, the crew aboard the International Space Station was a home for 11 crew members on board. Now again, only 7 crew members on board the International Space Station are remaining. Back to again Expedition 73 crew members.
Dragon has exited the keep out sphere. The next major milestone for Dragon is crossing the approach ellipsoid. That will take place a little over 10 minutes from now. That approach ellipsoid is another imaginary shape similar to the keep out sphere, but this time it's a 3-dimensional ellipsoid measuring 4 kilometers by 2 kilometers by 2 kilometers. And one of the key differences with the approach ellipsoid is that vehicles outside of it have to be on what we call a 24-hour safe free drift trajectory. This means the spacecraft would not cross into the approach ellipsoid for at least 24 hours, even if it lost all maneuvering. After the spacecraft crosses the approach ellipsoid, joint operations will end, and responsibility for the spacecraft will be handed back to the SpaceX flight control team in Hawthorne, California. Again, everything continuing to look good with Dragon's departure today, following a physical separation about 10 minutes ago at 6:15 a.m. Central, 7:15 a.m. Eastern. Dragon is now about 340 meters away from the International Space Station and continuing to increase that distance. And teams
just to update you guys, the Crew Dragon recovery vessel for the Axiom 4 mission will be the Shannon, as because the Megan Dragon recovery vessel retired in the 3rd week of June. Maybe I'm not wrong saying that. The time of what I'm mentioning. After its successful last mission to support for the Crew 9 recovery. So this time for the Ax-4 mission, it's Shannon will be there for the Dragon recovery.
Dragon lifted off atop a Falcon 9 rocket on Wednesday, June 20th.
Now we did crossed all the major milestones, hatch closing, undocking. And next up, we are waiting for the splashdown that is currently scheduled for tomorrow. Dragon will splash down in its designated recovery zone, typically within 10 kilometers target area.
This was the 4th private astronaut mission to the International Station.
This time this will be happening at the Pacific Ocean near California. The capsule will be hitting the water at about 4 to 6 meters per second speed, with its heat shield absorbing the impact. Following that, SpaceX's recovery ships, equipped with cranes and medical facilities for Crew Dragon, will be positioned in the splashdown zone. As I mentioned just a couple of seconds ago, for this mission, the Crew Dragon recovery vessel will be the Shannon. For Crew Dragon, recovery teams retrieve the capsule within 30 to 60 minutes using inflatable boats to secure it and hoist it onto the ship, like Megan or Shannon. But as Megan is retired now, it will be Shannon. Astronauts are then checked by medical personnel and the capsule is inspected for integrity. For Cargo Dragon, the process is similar, but the focus is on preserving time-sensitive experiments, which are quickly transferred to shore facilities. The entire journey from undocking to splashdown takes about 6 to 24 hours for Crew Dragon, and for Cargo Dragon, it's up to 36 hours, depending on mission parameters and orbital alignment. But for this Axiom 4 mission, that will be taking about 22 and a half hours. So we will be again joining you guys tomorrow on the splashdown webcast. Please consider tuning into the Ax-4 splashdown stream that is posted on our channel. Is waiting for your visit. Would really love to have you guys back with us there as well.
On June 25th, the Ax-4 crew docked with the International Space Station a little over a day later, opening the hatch and greeting the Expedition 73 crew on June 26th. The crew shared some good words and a welcoming ceremony before quickly getting to work on their extensive itinerary. Now, each crew member brought with them a host of research, technology demonstrations, and outreach objectives, ranging from human physiology to space radiation impact studies, and even some gardening. Now, this crew maintained a very full timeline, but they prepared for this. Each crew member wanted to ensure that every minute of this mission was utilized well and that all objectives were hit. So Peggy, Shuks, Sław, and Tibor were ready to work. And over the course of 18 days on board the station, they accomplished over 60 research activities, as well as more than 20 outreach events. And as their time on station came to a close, the Ax-4 crew participated in a brief farewell ceremony where they said their goodbyes to the Expedition 73 crew. Now, for more details on the incredible work performed by this crew on orbit, check out axiomspace.com.
Well, those of who missed the farewell ceremony, you can check out that stream. It's still there on our channel. So I guess they will be wrapping up the stream, and as the Ax-4 crew geared up for their Crew Dragon spacecraft for a splashdown in the Pacific, let's give a big, huge shout out to this trailblazing team for pushing the boundaries of space research and global collaboration. Please be sure to check out the upcoming Axiom 4 mission splashdown that is currently scheduled for tomorrow, that is July 15th at 2:30 a.m. Pacific Daytime, 5:30 a.m. Eastern Daytime, 9:30 hours UTC.
The approach ellipsoid is one of several safety zones set up to
at the coast of California.
From the International Space Station, similar to the Keep Out sphere, which Dragon exited about 10 minutes ago at 6:21 a.m. Central, 7:21 a.m. Eastern. But unlike the Keep Out Sphere, which is an invisible 200-meter line centered on the space station, the approach ellipsoid is a three-dimensional ellipsoid measuring 4 kilometers by 2 kilometers by 2 kilometers. When a spacecraft...
Meanwhile, would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude from the entire AstroYonder team and our moderators for everyone joining us for today's live coverage of the Axiom 4 undocking from the International Space Station. And we are grateful to have your support. But still, before concluding the webcast for today, would like to once again request you guys to consider liking this stream. It really inspires us to work more hard, to do more research for any of the live streams, and to meet your expectations. And also it helps this stream to reach out to more people.
Houston will continue to monitor every step of the way, but prime responsibility once they exit that boundary will be transferred to the SpaceX and Axiom Space teams. Dragon is now about 860 meters away from the International Space Station and continuing to increase that distance between the two vehicles.
Also from now, as the Crew Dragon Grace got separated from International Space Station, you can track the Dragon's live position on the SpaceX's website.
And we're now about a minute away from exiting the approach ellipsoid.
So just after the spacecraft getting away from the approach ellipsoid, we will be concluding our stream.
For those of you who are just joining us, we began our coverage of the Axiom mission for departure activities earlier this morning with hatch closure. That hatch close took place around 4:07 a.m. Central, 5:07 a.m. Eastern. The crew donned or put on their spacesuits and settled in for the departure activities.
I have you loud and clear on the cabin mic.
Well, Angry Bird, it's nothing an issue. Don't be like this. Norman just said his opinion. To some person, it can be so that they can't understand my accent. It's absolutely normal for every one of us.
Also outside of the approach ellipsoid and is now on a 24-hour safe free drift trajectory. You can configure COM on Dragon to ground in preparation for disabling the big loop.
Dragon copies all and configuring comms for Dragon to ground.
Now that Dragon and the Axiom Mission 4 crew have exited the approach ellipsoid, that means the vehicle is now on a 24-hour safe free drift trajectory, which means the spacecraft would not cross into the approach ellipsoid for at least 24 hours again, even if it lost all maneuvering. So now that the crew and Dragon have exited the approach ellipsoid, they are settling in for their journey back to Earth.
So there's the confirmation. We heard the comms between the pilot, Indian astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla with the ground teams. The Dragon spacecraft, Crew Dragon spacecraft Grace is now away from the approach ellipsoid. So with that, we will wrap up our coverage for now. But before that, want to thank you for being with us on this live coverage. Once again, just to remind you, undocking of the Crew Dragon Grace happened at 7:15 Eastern Daytime, 11:15 hours UTC on July 14, 2025, while the re-entry and the splashdown of the Crew Dragon is scheduled tomorrow, that is July 15th at 5:30 a.m. Eastern Daytime, 9:30 hours UTC, off the coast of California after a journey of 22 hours and a half. Now, please be sure to check out the upcoming Axiom 4 mission splashdown stream. The stream is posted on our channel and would love to have you guys back with us there. And let's celebrate the crew's return back to Earth all together. So that's a wrap up for today's coverage. It's really impossible to do this broadcast without your encouragement, so thank you for your continued support of what we do here at AstroYonder. We appreciate everyone joining us for today's stream. Wishing you a nice week ahead. Also, check out our social media handle on X for latest happenings in space industry and updates on upcoming launches and live events. Guess that link got posted on the chat section. If not, you can search us on X. Hope you enjoyed the stream today and I could provide some technical and deeper insights for this stream. Once again, thanks for watching. This is AstroYonder Live and me Dipto signing off for now, and we will see you next time.